Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome back again to Foxy Diaries. And as we get into the heat of this week's conversation, I am Sylvia Mbogwa, your host, ever joined by
Auntie Wama Vibe, Gracia Maingi.
Yes. So this week, madam,
We're talking about attachment, identity, and intimacy. Loving whole without losing yourself. That was a lengthy one. Loving not just because it was a vomit. Last time we were vomit and vulnerability. We're used to one word. But then today we are talking about who are you in that relationship? What patterns have you picked? Remember last time tulikuwa tunasema juu ya people that are pattern creators and people picking people with the same patterns. Now we are talking about what patterns have you picked along those relationships. Who are you? What has shaped what you do in the relationships? And are you actually losing yourself in the process, or you've remained authentic to yourself? Today, I have a very catchy story of a young lady. But before we read the story of the young lady, wacha nisikie our serious. Squeezing kama nimerub on her. She stopped being very serious.
See your life anyway. Loving.
Even where would you tough love? So.
Loving. Do you tough love? Okay. Sawa, wamesikia.
Tough love ile ya kuharasiwa. So I have to be the next one.
Anyway.
She is the harasser. Continue.
Wow, was that really necessary? But anyway, sawa. Anyway, loving whole without losing yourself. We are looking at attachment,
intimacy, and identity.
Because you realize as we do life, it's quite easy to lose yourself. Especially this falls on the people that are categorized as people pleasers. You might go so way out of your way in trying to please someone or show up for someone that you eventually lose yourself. You're no longer showing up for Gracia as Gracia because you're busy chasing Sylvia, busy wanting to be in Sylvia's good books, busy in supporting, which is support that is needed. So in loving wholly and being present wholly without losing yourself as a person, that is the essence of our today's episode. We want to look at how you fully show up for a person, but you don't lose yourself. How you are there for a loved one, or how you show up in your workplaces fully without letting that work or that person suck you into a place where you can't identify yourself anymore. And on that note, let's get into the tale and then we will keep.
So here is our Foxy tale of the week. She laughed at jokes she didn't find funny, took up hiking for a guy who hated books, stopped writing poetry because he never asked about it. With each new relationship, she became less of herself. It wasn't until a painful breakup that she looked in the mirror and said, "Who am I now?" That was the beginning of her becoming whole, not to get someone, but to remain herself when she did.
I think I love that question of who am I? And that is a question that I believe we should constantly, persistently, intentionally keep asking ourselves, who am I? Who am I? Because if you lose the essence of who you are, you open a window, a door of letting other people define you. So if it's, say for example, the way we are in June, if it's in June and people feel that Sylvia needs to be what? To be a happy, sort of go kind of chick, I start conforming to that and I start being what people want me to be. And then come July, they no longer want that sly. Now the people are demanding for a serious sly. So I start becoming serious to keep satisfying people's thoughts of who I should be. And what does that do to me? One, I become a confused element. obviously, because I'm never settled. I do not even understand myself. I become quite pretentious. I become a character, like a cast. I'm there performing out of people's scripts of who they're trying to tell me to be. Because, say for example, in different relationships, yeah, so you've dated person A, person B, person C, and everybody is coming with their own demands. If you're not strong enough to stand your ground and say, this is who Sylvia is, I will always show up as who they want. So it is me meeting their needs, but we forget there's a place of my needs being met. So if you don't show up wholly for yourself, you're neglecting a part of you. You're giving yourself what we call a rodeo, because you're not there. You're not, we always say that relationships are a two-way traffic. It's a give and take. But in such situations, you realize you're the one who's keeping giving. And the danger of giving too much is eventually you'll run out of things to give. You'll start running on empty. And that is where frustrations are birthed, bitterness is birthed. Have you ever listened to people who come tell you that why does this person not appreciate me? Why is it that I keep giving this person? It's because you didn't stand your ground. You created room. And I love, this is something again that I love saying all the time. You show people how to treat you by what you allow.
Yeah, true word.
So if I come day one and I'm there and you show up in a certain way and I don't speak up, because at one point in this conversation, we need to tackle that part of, then how do you show up for yourself? How do you love wholly? And one of those places, and by wholly is in full, that is what we mean, is by speaking up. You see, again, we say that people are not mind readers. If you don't come and tell me that this is Grasha and this is how I love being loved, or this is how I appreciate love, I won't know. Mi nitakuwa tu hapo na second guess, whatever goes. Or rather, I do things from my place of comfort because I'm not even putting in the work. There is no intentionality. I am not pursuing you back in the same level of interest that you've been giving me. Yeah. So that is what we are looking at.
I'm just thinking about wholeness. I'm just thinking that wholeness is not found in other people. Wholeness is an intrinsic, a personal attribute that everyone needs to achieve. You see, in marriage, they say we are not 50-50. You don't bring your 50, I bring my 50. No, you bring your 100, I bring my 100, we make it 100. That's how it works in marriage. I don't bring my 80, you bring your 20, we make it 100. You show up as 100, I show up as 100, we put it together, we split it. There's nothing like at my half, my better half or whatever. You show up as yourself. And showing up by yourself wholesomely means that you've worked on your toxic behaviors, you've worked on your insecurity issues, you've worked on your self-esteem issues, you've worked on your daddy mommy issues, you've worked on your traumas, and you're showing up for me as grace. Not grace. There's this sermon Apostle Tree preached about a few months ago, about how people show up in relationships and they're carrying suitcases. And he was unpacking one suitcase and another one and another one. It was such a beautiful sermon. I can't remember what exact date it was. But
it was in February.
It was in February. So he was preaching about living and leaving. Actually, that's the title of that sermon. If you look for it, you'll find it. And so he was explaining the analogy of how we show up in relationships, or rather we show up in marriages. I show up, I'm this cutesy and demure girl that you don't know that maybe battles in anxiety, battles, trauma, battles. There's so much people are battling. And then the problem is not that you're battling those things, by the way. The problem is that you have refused to show up for yourself. And now you want someone's son or someone's daughter to show up for yourself and clean your gutter. It does not work.
And make up for your misgiving.
It does not work like that. You have to be a wholesome person before you meet another wholesome person. I gave you an analogy a while while back about God having children, and the analogy was hauwezi kuwa umedefile hawa wase wengine, ama huwezi kukwapia wewe you're not a deserving person, and then you're going to ask God for his most deserving character. It does not work like that. So wholesomely, identity, you need to know what's your identity. Who are you? What do you like? What do you stand for? You need to understand things like that. Number 2, you need to understand what's your purpose, because purposeless people are the ones wanasumbua watu wengine kwa relationships. They want their partners to show up. They want their partners to do stuff for them. It's just complicated. It's just interesting. So know your purpose, find your worth, find your wholesomeness. Where is it coming from? And then plug yourself into a relationship. Wholesomeness is not found in another person. It is preserved in surrender to God. Only the rooted can love without vanishing. You can't show up. You can't give someone you don't have. We only pour from cups that are, we pour from cups that are full. We don't pour from cups that are empty.
I really love that, because as we keep having this conversation, then the questions that we should then start asking ourselves is, number 1, as we are trying to love people, as we are trying to be there for people, which parts of you have you abandoned along the way?
Exactly.
Which parts of you are you ignoring or you want to turn or rather label them unimportant because apparently the person that you're with has decided that they're not important, so you start removing the importance in them. We need to understand what disservice we are doing to ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically, by just not accepting or rather boldly saying this particular thing or this particular part of me is important and I need it. Exactly. And as we've said, if you don't do that, frustrations are born. You're not able to operate in the right way. So anyway, so the question we are asking ourselves here is how to show up for people without losing yourself. Showing up for people wholly, because as you were saying, there is a deception that people come from. You think by not showing up as yourself and wholly, you're doing better, but instead that is always quite short-lived. So instead, you eventually don't show up wholly for the person you intended to show up wholly by abandoning a part of you.
It reminds me of a lady I know who got married, abandoned who she was, abandoned her purpose. And then after a while, started feeling like, this is not worth it. This is not it for me. Why? Because she lost herself. She lost her essence in loving and being everything she ought to have been in that marriage. And so you see what happens after a while when you lose yourself in the process. When you lose yourself in the process of loving someone else, you start resenting that person. Because their life is moving on and your life has gotten stuck.
You forgot yourself.
You forgot yourself. And then you forget that it's not the other person that forgot you. You forgot your
you
own
stopped
self.
being
You stopped
intentional
showing up for yourself.
yourself.
You stopped loving yourself. You stopped. Then you let kufanya tu kila kitu. And so, because their life is continuing and maybe their life, they've kept on showing up for themselves. Like, especially when you deal with very secure people, they will keep showing up for themselves and they will keep making steps. And then you will be left there thinking, kwa nini sly? Ni kama sly, sly. You will keep resenting that person. Why? You abandoned yourself. So as we wind down our thoughts, my winding down comes from the book of Colossians chapter 2 verse 10 and from the book of Matthew chapter 22 verse 39. Wholeness is the foundation of healthy intimacy. Wholeness is the foundation of healthy intimacy. And I will tell you, do not lose yourself in the process of loving someone else. You matter. Your purpose matters. Your identity matters a lot to God and to the world. And therefore, You have a mandate that God called you to fulfill on this planet. And in that person's life, don't lose it by losing yourself. You will do yourself and the world a great justice if you showed up for yourself.
Yeah. I think that's beautifully done, beautifully said. So, yeah, let's be intentional, people. As much as we want to make those intentional steps towards embracing people and showing up for people, let's be equally intentional with our own selves. Because, again, and I think we've said this over and over again, you only pour from what you have. You only pour from your abundance. So people will tell, and that is why you will feel abandoned, or people leave you, or people feel like you're no longer beneficial to them because they start relating and interacting with the emptiness in you because you forgot to be whole, or they start interacting or picking up on the brokenness, on what is lacking in you, and that is why they don't eventually pick you. So that answers that question of why after everything that I did you leave? It's because after they were done taking, because takers don't have boundaries, they will keep taking as long as you allow it. As long as you allow it, they will keep taking. People have free things, especially. So you have to make people, you have to give from a place of wholeness, because if you don't, as you're saying, that place of giving from brokenness, giving from unhealed parts of you, from trauma, eventually after I'm done taking the good things, I'll interact with that bit of you, and I'll realize it's not sweet, and I'll realize I don't want it, and I'll leave you. So it's very important to show up whole, very important to love you, very important to choose you intentionally all the time. It's not a crime. It's okay. In fact, we are told, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if you want to show up wholly and nicely for the next person in your life, or whoever you want to choose, make sure it's coming from how you do it to yourself. It's a wrap, people. It's a wrap, people, for this episode.
Where we finish the last... mwezi inaenda haraka.
Sana.
I know.
Yani, Johnny, kuisha inaisha. Anyway.
Where we finish the last episode of June on intentional relationships. Then we shift gear to July.
Leadership. But
So
anyway.
until next time, this is Foxy Diaries.
The untold tales of wit, wisdom, and wild tongues.